Hello everyone, it's Bernadette, and I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The good news is that I finally had these doors routed. So if you can see behind me, so basically this was done with a Laminex trimmer. So I'll just show you. So at the end we have the wall that's done with, I've had guests staying, so that's why the bed's not made, with the paneling board. But I wanted to do something with these doors because they were looking pretty drab. And so one way of getting my husband to do something is to buy him a new toy. And I bought him a Laminex trimmer because his router was 40 years old and died. And so basically within a couple of hours, he had put these V grooves into the doors. And so now I'm just waiting for the painter to come to paint them. So he will paint them the same colour as the walls and they will look really nice. And the other thing that's happened this week is after 3 months, the handles have come. So these are sort of like, then, believe it or not, they're 9 centimetres wide, which is quite big, but they don't look that big there. But these metal handles are coming off, and George, the handyman, will take them off and he will fill the holes and then he will put these oak handles on. And I'm really thinking I should have got a bigger size. Anyhow, what they are is they're replica Muto dots. So a Muto dot would have been probably about $40 this size. And this was, I think, 17. Pardon me. So I am back from Melbourne. And so last week I put an offer in on a property, went in all guns blazing, but forgot I didn't forget. I was doing a joint venture and just couldn't get the finance together quick enough. So had to let it go. And however, we've since getting ourselves organised and now I'm looking at another property, and so hopefully we will have that. And this one may not be the one, but will hopefully be more organised. So basically, I normally do my projects. I have a line of credit and I just take the deposit out of that and then I get the finance in the settlement period. But because I'm doing this as a joint venture, the finance is slightly more complicated because there's more than one person in the deal. And so I've just had to cool my heels a bit. But the exciting thing is that this is the first project that I will have done through Property Circles. And exciting for them because it'll be the first Reno that they will have done. And so I'm really going through this process to test the structure to make sure, like, as I say, nothing is ever as good or as bad as you expect it to be. So there are always little bumps in the road to iron out. And so we're setting that up now. And so basically what I'm doing is I guess training the people in my group to be able to then go and set up their own circles or their own joint ventures and sort of have that power to be able to do projects and create wealth, whether or not they have the funding to do it. So it's a very exciting development in the business. And so the property I'm looking at tomorrow is off market. It's actually a mortgagee sale. It's a tiny little, well, it's not that tiny actually. It's 2-bedroom and it's had a mass of Chinese students living in it. So highly illegal and it's absolutely vile. So, well, that's what my agent tells me. He says it's vile. It didn't look that vile to me. I've seen much worse, but because it's a mortgagee sale, that might be, it might be less of an opportunity because, mortgagee sale is a bit like deceased estate. The minute people see that, they think bargain, and then every man and his dog is after it. So usually the price does go out of the get kicked out of the ballpark. So we'll just wait and see what, how that goes. But there's not a lot of stock around, and that's why you really need to, because I've found out about this before it's gone to market. It won't go to market until next week. So we may be able to get an offer in if our finance comes through before it goes to market, and if we're lucky, get it off the market. Because, in times when the stock is short, you need to be a bit, creative about getting your deals before everyone else does. This week in the podcast, sorry, I know this room looks dark, but I've been shut away videoing, doing videos because we're doing the boot camp online. So I'm re-recording the whole lot of it. So I've been locked away in the bedroom because that's where the acoustics are the best. Because our ceilings are 5 metres high and the acoustics in our main room they're really bad. And Stephen's stolen my office up the top, so he hasn't really, but we just can't work too closely together because we have the battle of the phones and it just doesn't really work. Where was I? So this week's podcast. So in this week's podcast, last week's podcast, I talked to Na Nguyen, who's my development guru. And this week is actually, I was interviewed by a lady by the name of Natasha. I've got Melissa on the brain now. Natasha Moy. And she is interviewer of the stars. And we just had a lot of fun. It was all around. So the premise of her podcast is life, love, and the universe. And so we had a lot of fun talking about, how renovating actually marries into, empowering women. And it had just really great energy. So I decided to publish it on our podcast. And so that will be coming out tomorrow, which is amazing. It's Friday again. So the other thing that I've been up to in this last week is I spent 10 days in Victoria, which was awesome in a way because I got to see my mother for the first time in 5 months, and she's been in lockdown in aged care. Not so good because she has deteriorated to the point where she doesn't recognise me anymore. So that was a bit of an emotionally challenging time, but I do feel that I connected with her, so that was really good. Just by holding her hand, and and you know when someone is getting what you're trying to convey to them, even if there aren't any words. And I certainly felt that I had done that. And we also got to spend some time with our eldest daughter, Hannah, who lives in Melbourne, and her husband, Ed. Did lots of eating. Also got to visit one of my gorgeous Wonder Women, Mary, who is renovating an Airbnb queen, and she's got a gorgeous house around Mount Macedon. And so I always love to see her and her beautiful house. She's the queen of vaulted ceilings, beautiful panelled ceilings, and really, just really lovely family home. And that's really all that's been happening in our court. We're motoring through the online boot camp, and I'm getting really great feedback. So I'm quite proud about that because, doing it online I was quite worried about. But it's happened, and it's happening, and it's great. And we've got students from as far as Singapore doing it, which is also great. But anyhow, good to see you all, and I'll see you same time next week. Take care.